and sisters from wherever you're watching me around the world. I'm very happy this wonderful evening to be here. The noise that you're hearing in the background is heavy rain. The rains are here, and we thank God for that. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. As I said that continue with this channel because the rains will cause destruction of our services, but nothing is going to distract us from taking the gospel to the world. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verses 9 says that the gospel will not be chained, and the rain is not going to chain us. It's not going to chain the gospel. If you're new to this channel, today we have started very early because because of the rain. It's raining heavily, and I wouldn't want it to destroy our good work. I wouldn't let it to interfere with what we are doing. But before we start, I want to talk about something that happened in our county, of this county. I was a post on Facebook, a witch doctor, and a few of her, because it's a woman, and a few of her friends, or let me call them accomplices or partners in crime, were caught yesterday night while we were streaming the word. They were caught making rituals outside the house of the governor of Machakos, and that story is everywhere. I saw it, and I always tell my friends that while you're sleeping, witch doctors are not sleeping. While you're sleeping, while you're resting, witch doctors are not resting. So if you love yourself, and if you know what is good for you, it's funny because that's exactly what I try to tell people every day, that at night, while you are busy, sleeping, that is when witch doctors are alive, and also witch doctors they're taking advantage of your sleep. You see what they did to outside the house of the governor of Machakos. They went with the light. Go and watch. Go and see. Go to Facebook and look what they were doing, and you will believe me now. They went with a bulb. To do what? Because it's spiritual symbolism to end, so that she can live in darkness. And that is exactly what I always tell people, that the battle is not of the flesh, but against principalities and rulers. So if you think that the battle is of the flesh, think again, because that is not what witch doctors are thinking. And I grew up in this area, so I know exactly why I'm streaming the gospel. I know exactly why I read every day, because the battle is not of the flesh. There are so many altars that are against the children of God. So when you think you understand me perfectly, you wouldn't even ask me why I'm doing this. You see, you can imagine, it's always a joke until it slaps you on the face. It is a joke until it stops being a joke. I was talking to friends of mine, and they were telling me, "What you mean? went to her house. In fact, they are sleeping tonight in the police station, you know, and they were caught while they were making incantations and making curses at the home of governor of Machakos. I will not start mentioning people, but you know what I mean. So you see here, there are people while you are sleeping, they're throwing, things inside your compound. They're throwing things or they're burying things inside your compound. You have to be very careful and you have to monitor what is happening. Those people who are happy, what they're doing outside your place, because they pretend to be passers-by, and then they take something and throw it in your compound without your knowledge. So that is one of the tactics, that they do. And I can tell you so many stories here about what they do. Some they come. We've caught some, burying things. They bury stuff, you know, in that place. They bury it so that they set up an altar unbeknownst to you. So when you are when you always be sleep with one eye open, like the hair. The hair doesn't sleep with both eyes closed. Sleep with one eye open. Don't sleep like a dead person. Just be aware that also while you are dreaming, there are others who are canceling that dream. There are others. That's why you see there's a lot of oppression. In fact, some people are wondering, why is it when you go to work, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of oppression, there's a lot of resistance. I will give you a very simple solution tonight, that you should start thinking about that while you are sleeping. There are people who, they curse you, they say, may you be unsuccessful. While you pray to God, while you're going to sleep, saying, you're praying to God, oh God, may I be successful. Also, a witch doctor is also, making a counter request, a counter request. That's why it's even before you start telling people all the good things, think again. Okay, think again. You saw we were reading yesterday the story of Hezekiah when he met strangers and he started showing them the gold, the valuable things in his palace. It's found in the book of Isaiah chapter 39. What did Isaiah tell him? Isaiah told him that whatever you have will be taken away from you. Are we together? Whatever you have, and nothing will be left for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is why I always tell people, I know most people want to be successful, which is something very, very nice. But also be aware that there's a resistance, there's a force that is resisting whatever you want to achieve. That is why, that's how I always tell people, that's how you look at people, that's how you look at events. Don't look at people with carnal eyes. No, don't look at people like that. Look at people like, this can be an agent. This can be an agent of dark powers. Do you understand? Because people can look innocent outwardly, but inwardly you wouldn't know what they're harboring. Are we together? Inwardly you wouldn't know. Some people look like they're very good, they're very holy, but that's on the outside. But inwardly they are, they're the machine that brings about chaos, that brings about destruction. Are we together? So that's how you look at people. Don't look at people like, oh, this man is just a simple, innocent boy. That is what they said, because when I was looking at that picture of that old woman who was arrested as a witch, she looks very down to earth. She looks very with white hair. She looks very innocent out of the appearance. She looked like she was the victim. She looked like she was not even the aggressor. She looks like the victim. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to understand what we are dealing with, because most people, and mostly people from this area, they don't want to use legal methods to achieve anything. Let's, for example, if they want to achieve power, they wouldn't want to go that long route. They want, the shortcut, the shortest route to what they want to achieve. Do you understand? And because somebody cannot come and assassinate you, they will use other spiritual means. That's why I always tell people it's always good to be a spiritual person, because the Bible says that the battle is not of the flesh, but of principalities and rulers. Because if you look at Ephesians chapter 6, verses 12, it tells us about that. And other than Ephesians chapter 12, there is one verse that I would want us to read even before we start. That is in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, that says that once, I will just read for you. Yes, by the humility and the gentleness of Christ, I appeal to you, I, Paul, who I am timid when face to face with you, but bold towards you when I'm away. I beg you that when I come, I may not have to be as bold as I expect to be towards some people who think that we live by the standards of this world. For though we live in this world, we do not wage war as the world does. So that's a good point that is found in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 2, verses 3. The weapons we fight, listen, with are not the weapons of this world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. So do you understand that? That is, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Are we together again? The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of this world. The weapons we are fighting with are not weapons of this world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. That's a very, very good point. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And we will be ready to punish every act of disobedience once your obedience is complete. That is in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, the first few verses. So here you can imagine that I was talking about what happened. You can imagine, you're sleeping, yet somebody wants to plant a disease, a wasting disease in your life, because they know, I cannot use, I don't want to be known, or I wouldn't want people to know it's me. So they consult witch doctors, and then they plant a wasting disease in your life. Because some of these things that you see ravaging on people, some of the solutions, as one of those problems is, it's a spiritual problem. It's a spiritual device, or let me call it a demonic device. Because some people, you know very well, you cannot walk around with a gun, right? Yes. So you cannot walk around with a machete. So definitely, people will try to use other alternative means of warfare, okay, to bring about destruction or to bring about chaos in your life. Do you understand? That's why I always tell people, while you're sleeping, there are people who are stealing your destiny. And if you think it's a joke, think again, because you find that they are jealous. They are they are angry with you, so that they plan to cause chaos in your life. You know, yes, there's so many cases I can tell you of somebody. Maybe they had a very big wedding, and in between, inside the wedding, there was a witch doctor. So while you are saying, "Oh, I know this wedding will be fantastic," be after you have left that place, something starts eating you. It starts eating you. Something is eating you. You wonder, what is the problem? How is it that there's something that is eating you? You know, it's eating you, and you're not even aware. Are we together? So that is why I always tell my friends and those who care to listen that the battle, I want to insist that point, the battle is not of the flesh, but against principalities and rulers. And you see, when you continue with that story of against Ovinyandeti, you can see that they were performing rituals, and it was not really performing a ritual, but they were setting up an altar. An altar. They were caught with the paraphernalia. And what was the paraphernalia? Go and check. What was the paraphernalia? It was, a fluorescent tube light. They want to switch off. They want to extinguish the light in your life. So when you think that witch doctors, they want to put you in another state so that you cannot understand what is happening. You don't know where north is, you don't know where south is. There's confusion because they have set up confusion in your life. And I always tell people, if the things that I talk about here, they might look like a joke, but it is always a joke until someone starts getting hurt. Okay, it is a joke until it starts consuming people. And I remember the story that I talked about here in this channel when I was reading the book of Numbers, chapter 11, the story of Balaam and Balak. The story of Balaam and Balak. If you go to the book of Numbers, you will read what Balak told Balaam to do. He set up 7 altars and also gave 7 rams to put an end to the destiny of the children of Israel. Do you understand? So that was the plan of, and Balak was the king of Moab. And in this story, and I've talked about altars, because an altar is how do I put it? It's a device to connect human beings and the spiritual world. Do you understand? It's an altar. An altar is a device erected by human beings to connect with the spiritual world, because you cannot talk to spirits unless there's an altar. And one of the things that I talked about here in this channel is that altars have they're serviced by human agents. So it's a human that is servicing an altar. Are we together? I've talked about the kind of I went into detail and talked about Numbers chapter 11 and what Balaam and Balak, what they were discussing. And let me show you. Let me continue reading the book of Numbers. it's numbers. I don't know if it's. Let me just check, because I think I might be. Let's continue. Just wait. It's Numbers chapter 22. I'm sorry. It was not 11. It is Numbers 22. The story of Balaam and Balak. How Balaam, that is the the son of Zippor. He was the, let me call him the consultant, or the spiritual man who was to cause chaos in the lives of the children of Israel. And if you continue reading Numbers chapter 22, you can see what happened. Go back there, because I've talked a lot about altars. You see, some people think, it's a joke until it starts consuming you, or it starts bringing stagnation. One of the things, and I'm trying to enlighten you, is that stagnation or delay is not of God. It is not of God. Stagnation is something that is a demonic device, where you find that in a particular area in your life there is no development. Are we together? There is some kind of stagnation, and all that is brought about by people who don't want, they're enemies of progress. All right. So if you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. I will be more than happy to host you. Any question up to there? Any question up to there? Any question? If you're new, you can see so many people here. Somebody called Arnold Omolo, Wayne, Joshta, Samidos. Welcome to this channel. Marcos Aurelio Lopez, welcome to this channel. It is, before I go to sleep, it is 1:30 Kenyan time, and I'll be streaming for 1 hour, and then I will go to sleep. Any question up to there? Can we start reading? You're free to subscribe. You're free to comment. Any question up to there? Any question up to there? You see, when it comes to the things of God, you see, these people are very clever. They use you see, technology is not just something that was invented by computer. There's also demonic technology. You find that they come up with a device to bring about unusual laziness in your life. When they hear that a church is being built, or they hear that a man of God is doing something, of course their satellite, let me call it their satellite dish, is awakened, and they bring about confusion. They bring about stagnation, and all sorts of they bring about even cases. Don't think that your case is just they bring about something to your life that causes you failure. And if you go and do your research, ask yourself, the men who are in our prisons, what is their main offense? Who are the majority? Can I give you the answer today? Men who have been caught in defilement cases. And if you do your research, most of them will tell you, I found myself in prison. I did not know what happened. I don't know what took over me. I found myself in prison because, of defilement. But when you do your research deep and deep and deep, you realize that this was something this was a weapon that was forged against somebody's life. Do you understand? Maybe this person is a threat, so they plan how they will be maybe start messing around with the kids, then once they are in prison, they lose everything. They lose their business. They lose maybe some something like that. So it's you can see from the outside, if you do your own forensic analysis, you can see that this is not normal. It was something that was planned, and it was something. It was a setup. Do you understand? It was a demonic setup. If it's so many pastors, I can tell you a story about another pastor who had started well, but of course, he's in prison right now for a case of defilement. And it started like a joke. A young lady came to him, and before the pastor even was blinking his eyes, he found himself facing a 40-year jail term. And then you realize that this was, well, if you just dig deeper, you realize that there was something this pastor was supposed to do, and the enemies of progress, wanted to take him out of the picture. So that is a very, very important stuff that you need to understand. That if you have a divine assignment, you have been consecrated. Are we together? If you start messing around, you will find yourself in a very, very terrible place for a long time, even without you knowing it. Because as you are planning, also there's a counter force that is planning against you. That is why I always tell people to always pray before going to sleep. Any question? Up to there. Any question?